Hello, everyone. My name is Rose Simpson. I'm a librarian at the New Haven Free Public Library, and welcome to Co-Create. We have here our creative in residence, Nadine Nelson, and special guest, Layla Schlack. So would you two like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I can go first while Nadine
right.
finishes what she's doing. Oh, there you are. Hi, I'm Layla Schlack. I'm the Associate Managing Editor of Print at Wine Enthusiast magazine. I've also worked at Fine Cooking magazine, Hemispheres magazine. I do some editing currently for Whetstone magazine. My work has appeared in the Washington Post just in the last year. Food 52, where else? Taste. Plate. And I am also pursuing an MFA in creative and professional writing at Western Connecticut State University, where I'm studying fiction writing.
Cool. Nadine, how about yourself?
Hi, I'm Nadine Nelson. I am the creative in residence this year. I'm very happy to be so. I am also the chef owner and educator of Global Local Gourmet, which is an interactive culinary education company. I am also an artist and creative. And today I'm going to be doing Feast of Seven Fishes. I'm going to be preparing and making some dishes. Usually Italians celebrate, and other people also celebrate with at least 7 dishes, but they can be up to like 13 or more dishes that are fish that coincide with the Christian ideology of not eating meat before. I don't know. I'm not Catholic, but I'm able to say it before Lent. But I'm like, what is it actually? I guess I should have looked that up. Maybe. Do you know what it is, really?
I mean, I think it might just be before feast day, like before Christmas, but I don't actually know.
Yeah. I can look this up. Let's see.
Rose, the librarian.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna do Caribbean, Italian type with one thing. I'm gonna peel shrimp right now because I need to make stock. Either way, like either I'm gonna be making risotto or I'm gonna probably make this thing called fish tea, which is a Jamaican fish broth that's usually made with like the bones or like really small fish or the head to make stock, and it doesn't really have that much fish in there, flesh. But then it has like Caribbean tubers, pumpkin, and like chiote, which is like kind of like a squash.
That sounds delicious.
It is. It's nice and light, because when you're doing like the Feast of Seven Fishes, you don't want to have like small portions, but some light things in there. Thank you.
Okay.
So I said I had to say thank you.
So Feast of the Seven Fishes is traditionally eaten on Christmas Eve from the Roman Catholic tradition of abstaining from meat on the eve of a feast day. So Christmas is a feast day, so you have fish instead of meat the day before.
All right. So yeah, and then we're used to that before like Lent or Easter, like where you abstain every Friday before Easter. And then you go crazy.
Yeah. Layla, would you like to tell us what you're working on today?
Yeah, sure.
The audio, you seem to be lagging a bit. I didn't catch what you just said.
Oh, sorry. I'm knitting myself a sweater. It looks a little bit odd in its current form because it's all scrunched up on the needle. But basically, this is the neck, and you do the neck and the shoulders as one piece, and then you separate the body and the sleeves and work on them separately. So that's what I'm up to. And I've been, I guess, since the pandemic started, since I started working from home, and my mornings were a little bit less rushed, I've been knitting for 15 or 20 minutes every morning to start my day. to feel like I've done something with myself on the days that I'm in meetings or, you know, just not getting as much writing done as I'd like. So it's been a great practice.
You knit during your meetings? Some people knit.
No, I don't
during their
knit
meetings.
during meetings just because I have to take notes a lot of the time and, you know, and look stuff up and toggle between different spreadsheets. So I don't knit during meetings.
Do you want to tell us, like I asked people general questions. So like what has been what led you to writing? What led you to
Oh,
queen
well,
writing?
I mean, I've written for as long as I've known how. Both my parents are writers. You know, I've always liked kind of making up stories. What led me to the type of writing I do is my dad also worked in publishing. He's also a magazine editor. And I really like that, you know, it's not just about writing. It's also, you know, you work closely with the art team to figure out how stories are going to look. And that's a lot more true in print than it is on digital, depending where you work. And there's all these kind of, it's also kind of like a logic puzzle, kind of building these calendars and figuring out who's going to write what, and, you know, the timing of it and the scheduling and so that's very appealing to me, kind of switching back and forth between the creative side and this very sort of logistical side, which is also creative in a different sort of way. So, you know, up until I think I started this master's program, I thought of myself as an editor first and a writer second. Obviously, you have to know how to write to be an editor, right? Like if you're going to be kind of helping other people with their writing, you've got to have some sense of what you're doing, and you've got to be able to kind of verbalize why some things work and why some things don't. But at the same time, you know, when you're on staff and you're an editor, it's as much about the quality of the writing as it is what need is this serving for our specific readers and our specific brand. So again, it's a different type of creativity. But it's less personal, it's less free flowing. So I started this master's program because I had an idea for a novel, and I'd had getting very on my own. I don't have the tools to book on my own. I don't know how to do it. So I actually was in a brewery, and I saw a brochure for this program, and it was shortly after my wedding. So I think I was probably looking for a new project. And there it was. So, you know, it's been really sort of a journey getting back into writing just because I like it, and writing what I want to write without any real constraints. You know, which I haven't done, I think, probably since high school. You know, I haven't taken a creative writing class since college. Like it's similar to what I've been doing, but very, very different. And very informed, I think, informed by work, I guess 8 years or so working in magazines that deal with food and wine. I think a lot of writing across genres comes down to being able to describe things in a way that is relatable to your readers, but feels different, doesn't feel cliche. So when you're writing about food and wine, you have to do that constantly, right? Like you're not just describing how something looks, you're describing how it smells and how it feels and how it tastes. And so it's helpful to have those tools in creative writing to be able to draw on, you know, even if it's something I'm making up, even if it's fiction, like when you describe a place or a person, it's not just what they look like and what they sound like. There's all these other senses that we use. And so it's certainly been good preparation, kind of being adept at talking about those other sensory elements.
You want to talk about what you want your novel to be, or is that
Sure, yeah, I can talk about that. I mean, you know, it's one thing I'm learning is that it's going to change several times over before it's done. You don't just write a draft of it and send it off and it gets published. Maybe some people do, most do not. So it's set in an airport, very small regional airport, and the airport gets snowed in. and no cars coming or going, no planes coming or going, and it is discovered that a woman's missing, and basically the only clue left is this journal, which is kind of gibberish. It's notes she left to herself. It's not fully fleshed out journal entries, and so it's told from the perspective of three people who interacted with her in some way in the airport, and then one TSA agent who's leading the search for her. It's told from 4 different points of view, of these people just trying to figure out kind of what happened to her, how did she go missing inside a shut down airport, and through that, who she is and what she was doing here, and what was going on in her life. And amid that, there's also kind of lore within the airport of a room in the basement where people disappear, that's like a portal to another realm. So there is kind of that I guess speculative element to it as well. So yeah, we'll see. In mind that I don't know if I'll be able to get away with.
How have you been enjoying your program, and how is writing fiction different than writing for food and wine?
My program's great. It's a low residency MFA, so I'm doing 3 classes this semester, and the majority of them are kind of one-on-one between me and a faculty member, and we design the syllabus together. And so I can kind of make it exactly what I want it to be. The main challenge for me so far has not been so much the difference between fiction and journalism. It's been the length. Most of what I write in my professional life is it's under 1,000 words. I don't know if I've ever written anything longer than 2,000 words. Certainly I've never written anything longer than 3,000 words. A standard novel is about 80,000 words. So I'm very economical with words, and it's a real shift trying to take up more space with my writing. And there's also stuff like I'm used to writing in New York Times style, and now I'm using MLA style, and but that stuff is fairly superficial. That hasn't been a huge challenge. It's really just kind of figuring out what to do with all that extra space, how to get from point A to point B, because for my novel, I have an outline, and I know like somewhere around page 60, this thing is going to happen. And it's like, well, so how do I get from this thing that happened on page 20 to this major plot point that happens on page 60? And so that's why I'm in school, and that's why I have trained faculty members who can help me with that, and and help me pace out kind of the exposition and the dialogue, and figure out what will best serve moving the story forward. And again, I'm sorry?
I was taking an MFA online, and how interacting with your fellow classmates and giving feedback.
Well, so for my program, I have one class per semester. I have to complete 4 of them. That is a workshop with my classmates. I would be on anyway. And I have classes just one-on-one faculty. So on is that we do a 1-week residency every semester, and that was virtual in August, and will be virtual again in January. Hopefully by August 2021, we'll be able to do it in person. So there's just there's all these people who I've read their writing, and a lot of them are writing memoirs, so I know these really personal things about them, and I've never met them in person. For me, I've made a lot of kind of professional contacts and friends in my industry on Twitter. So it's to me not that unusual to kind of get to know people online. But I do think that, there's obviously a lot of camaraderie and bonding that happens kind of after hours. That's something like a residency that I'm being able to do. It's did my work I had because, you know, I mean, I'm also doing a graduate student assistantship where I'm teaching a class also online. But I have kind of cohorts in my program who are also teaching different units of the same class. So we meet fairly frequently. So I have a lot of kind of, you know, Zoom contact that way. And inevitably we talk about what we're working on in our classes as well. So there's plenty of contact, there's plenty of conversation. But I am looking forward to, you know, I mean, you know, at the residencies, they also have like a bad poetry contest and there's stuff like that that just kind of isn't the same to do virtually. But yeah, I don't really know any different because I just started.
A bad poetry contest sounds like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have the shells and I have some onions and some garlic. I'm gonna put some bay leaf and a piece of fish in there and let it boil. I'm gonna put the skins in there too because I'm gonna strain that out. I just wanted to show people what I was doing.
So is this going to be a stock?
Yeah, it's gonna be a stock for the Jamaican fish tea.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm gonna continue, you know, cooking is just prep basically.
Mm-hmm.
So the more prep I do now, the more it's not the most exciting thing, but the more I'll get done than as opposed to like make one thing and then come back and make, you know, so
Have a bunch of things going at once instead of do one thing, finish it, and then start the next.
right. So I'm just trying to prep a bunch of stuff so I can start doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm not the best multitasker. And when you're making seafood, I don't want to mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't have the most pans here at MakeHaven. I don't know if you really gave a shout out to MakeHaven, but today I think I have to bring some pots down. I'm gonna get some water, and it's kind of loud, so excuse me.
Well, since you mentioned it, shout out to MakeHaven. MakeHaven is a makerspace in New Haven, downtown, about a couple blocks from the Green. It's a membership makerspace. I think it's $50 a month, and they have a whole lot of equipment in there. They've got a full wood shop, a metal shop. They've got laser cutter, 3D printer, vinyl cutter, heat press, vacuum former. They've got the cooking area that Nadine's working in, and they've got a whole bunch of stuff, including like workshops and classes on how to do different projects, as opposed to the library's makerspace, which we are smaller, but we are free. We have laser cutter, 3D printer, vinyl cutter, CNC router, which is a carving machine, sewing machines, a Cricut maker. We have a vacuum former, but we got it during the well, we're closed for the pandemic, so it hasn't been made available to the public yet, but it will when we reopen. So
That's a respectable makerspace. It sounds like you're well equipped.
Yep.
I really want to be able.
Sorry, you got laggy again, so I didn't quite catch what you said.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just saying I used to live in New Haven and I didn't realize you had sewing machines. I'm terrible at sewing, but I would like to know how to do it.
Yep, we have.
That's one of the projects I'm gonna be learning. Soleil and I to be better with the machine. Sure.
Yeah, I can use a sewing machine, and in fact, if I could fit my sewing machine on my computer desk here, I would be working on a pillow that I'm quilting for my parents. So yeah. I will finish that up after this, after co-create, so I can give it to them for a Christmas present.
Tomorrow, you're all set.
Well, probably half the day tomorrow because I have to work.
Oh yeah.
What are you making for your holiday dinner?
Well, so normally we'd go to my mother-in-law's house and she always does a prime rib. So I'm doing a prime rib for two, and some Brussels sprouts and some roasted potatoes, pretty traditional menu. Tomorrow night for Christmas Eve,
What'd you say, Layla? You're lagging.
Oh, sorry. On election day, I panic ordered dumplings from Namwa Tea Parlor and also pierogies from Veselka. So, and I'm also going to try making Georgian kinkali dumplings. So tomorrow night for Christmas Eve, we're going to have a big dumpling feast.
That sounds
Oh,
fun.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Christmas.
Where are the pierogies? Is that from Brooklyn or?
It's from Veselka in the East Village.
Okay. Nice. I want to get the name of those. I love pierogies. I went the other day to Full Maggie here on State Street, and she was out of pierogies. She's only open now on I've never made pierogies because I'm not really good with the dough, and I don't know what you would substitute. Like I'm gonna make some curry and shrimp dumplings with dill and peas. Like kind of like Jamaican Vietnamese, like Vietnamese use the dill and curry. I like that flavor. But I've never made pierogies because I don't know how to make. I'm not good at dough, especially that thin. I can't imagine I could ever do it.
It's when I made them, it's with sour cream, so it's an easy dough because it's got a lot of fat in it. Sour cream and eggs, and just kind of as much flour as you need to get it stiff enough. But you know,
well, next time I see you,
yeah, exactly.
I'm good at the insides of all those things, you know, to make like really fun insides, but I'm not very confident in my dough making skills and pastry skills.
I know a lot of times I'll just buy the wonton wrappers and make, like, not for pierogies, but for various other dumplings, just buy wonton wrappers and put all my time and attention into the fillings.
Exactly. You know, I took pastry in France and everything, but I'm just not very good at it. I'm not very confident, and I don't, because you have to eat so much of it. It's like I'm not, you know how everyone was like they're making their sourdough bread, everything. It's like I'm not making sourdough bread. I love sourdough bread, but I'm not trying to eat sourdough bread every day.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, like I made a pie for Thanksgiving. Usually I make 3 pies for Thanksgiving. I made a pie for Thanksgiving and I had 1 piece of it and I was like, all right, like it was a very good pie. And we, you know, we got through it, but I was just like, all right, I don't need more pie than 1 slice.
Yeah, I'm not a sweet person. Like I like I can just have one serving of it too, and I'm good. Soleil's been really good. Soleil's a really good baker. Along with being a good assistant. She's the jack of all trades.
Or a Jill of all trades.
Right. Yeah, I did I did a couple loaves of sourdough. And, you know, I like mixed in rye flour and used my own starter and all of this. And it tasted good. It never looked good, but it tasted good. But yeah, again, I just don't really eat enough bread. And we've got a great bakery near us that does only sourdough. And they do sourdough pastry.
Which one is that?
It's called Flour, Salt, Water, something like that. It's in Darien. Yeah, they do like sourdough croissants and like everything they don't make a lot of stuff, but everything they make is, you know, sourdough yeasted. They don't use any commercial yeast, but they just do a really great job.
Nice.
And that's the other thing. It's like if you can, you know, if you can support like a local independent business that's doing all the right stuff. You know, I make my own pizza dough.
Yeah, I don't really make any. I mean, when I make doughs, it's like for class when I'm teaching someone because there's enough people to do that. But since there's only 3 of us, it doesn't make any sense to really. Yeah, I might buy some dough on occasion, but I'm not gonna really make it. I have a nice recipe for yogurt for a dough for pizza dough for that. I am cutting. This is the chayote, And usually, anyone who might be wondering, so I just cut it in half, and it is in the kind of zucchini family. And I'm going to put it as part of the soup along with some pumpkin, which is butternut squash, because sometimes it's hard to find calabaza, which is the Caribbean pumpkin, and butternut squash has that nice rich flavor. Sometimes the calabaza, when you find it, it can be kind of watery. So, what restaurants have you missed during COVID?
I mean, we've been getting takeout from any restaurant that we like. So
Yeah.
it's obviously not the same experience as going there, but we haven't really been feeling the sting of missing them, because they all converted to takeout pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not been too hard on us. We've gotten a lot more creative with where we get our groceries. We did a couple orders from Baldor Restaurant Supply, and and then you end up with like, I think we've got still like a good 5 pounds of chickpeas in the house that we're just kind of gradually working our way through. So
And are you vegan? Are you vegan now?
No, I'm not vegan. I just try to eat as close to vegan as I can. Like if I really want a good cheese, I'm going to have a good cheese. Any meat that I get, I'm getting from Custom Meats in Fairfield. They're a whole animal butcher. They source from small farms locally. So A, it's more humane for the animals, but B, also they're kind of circumventing all of these terrible meat processing plants where people are getting sick and dying and being reported to ICE and all this. But it's expensive. So, I mean, by default, we don't eat meat that often because we spend a lot more for it than what the grocery store charges. And same with eggs. I get by locally farmed, pasture raised, vegetarian feed, whatever, non-antibiotic, organic, all the things for my eggs. So, I mean, we spend more on those things and eat less of them is basically what it comes down to. But and I also happen to love beans, so we eat a lot of beans.
Yeah, I love beans too. So what are some, like, I know a lot of people are looking to do that for health reasons and also for their budget. So what are some cool recipes that you can tell people about?
So I'm a little bit same meal more than once. I try to change it up, but I actually am really loving the cookbook Cool Beans by Joe Yonan. And even with that, I don't necessarily follow the recipes, but it's great for kind of flipping through and getting ideas. Same with The Flavor Equation by Nick Sharma, where he really kind of gets into the science of flavor, and his recipes are always really good and interesting. Again, it's like what I was saying about writing, that they're familiar, but also unexpected. I've been doing, like a fair amount of things like mushtara, like lentil rice, beans and rice. Kind of much of the world has their own take on that combination of a bean or a legume and a grain. So I've been kind of traveling the world through rice and beans, I guess. And then just kind of like lots of roasted vegetables with an egg on top, or again with beans or with tofu, and again just kind of different sauces or different seasoning mixes from different parts of the world. There's so many. It's just not as challenging, I think, as people think, to kind of experience those flavors. Like, there's a lot of value to learning the proper dishes and the proper cooking techniques and the proper recipes from around the world. But once you've done that, or if that's just too daunting for you, like you can kind of just do what you want because it's your kitchen and your mouth, and and how prepared and you know, and how it got that way, if they're interested in cooking. But at the same time, I just don't think anyone should feel like I can't use this chili oil because I don't know how to cook Chinese food. It's like, well, you don't have to, you know, use Chinese cooking techniques to use Chinese ingredients, or, you know, or Thai ingredients or Caribbean ingredients or any of that. And hopefully for a lot of people, kind of exploring through ingredients and through spices and through sauces and condiments that they pick up will kind of lead them to learn more about how the rest of the world eats and the stories behind that. So yeah, I mean, my main tip for people looking to kind of expand their culinary world is, you know, buy a jar of something that you've never heard of and then Google it and see what it is and play with it, and, you know, and try some recipes that are ingredient is from, and get to know the culture that way, because, you know, because also a lot of people have not traveled anywhere in a longer time than they would normally go without traveling. But then also just play with it and do what you want with it, you know, put it in your oatmeal, whatever, like it's your house. You're allowed.
I think that a lot of people, it's funny. I'm a member of the Institute, the International Association of Culinary Professionals. I don't know if you're a member, but so I'm a member of also the cooking school group. And so, you know, some of the questions there about, you know, like transferring on to Zoom, and then what do you do for people who ask questions like, well, how do you boil water? Like they ask, like, how do you boil water?
Yeah.
And like, how do you turn on your stove? Like they don't know how to use their stove. They don't know how to literally turn on the stove. And so what do
Yeah,
you do?
I mean,
So,
listen, we've all got to start somewhere.
you know, uh,
And you know, I think that's helpful, like for me professionally also, to remember that, like, yeah, some people don't know where to start. They like to eat food. They want to try different foods. Like right now, making them at home is the easiest way to do that. I mean, you know, certainly with wine, there's a lot of like, I'll even have friends text me and say like, is this wine that I'm drinking any good? And it's like, yeah, if you like it, but I think there's, around food and wine, there's a lot of intimidation. And yeah, I mean, again, it's, you know, your house, your rules, like start with cheap ingredients if you're worried you're going to mess them up. And then, you know, and then you learn the difference between, you know, between commodity food and smaller production, or you don't, and that's fine too. Like I'm certainly not here to tell anyone that they've got to shop and eat the way I shop and eat. You know, I was a vegetarian for a long time, so it's easy for me, and Jay, my husband, also used to be a vegetarian for a bit, so like for us it's not that hard to eat a lot less meat, but like that's not the case for everyone, and I certainly am not going to tell everyone you've got to eat less meat because I'm eating less meat. Or you've got to drink a $30 bottle of wine because I'm drinking a $30 bottle of wine. Like I get a lot of wine for free, so I can afford the occasional $30 bottle of wine. Yeah, I think it's great that actually for a lot of people, they're kind of exploring this for the first time. And I think probably for people like you and me who have always been interested in food and always been kind of on our paths of discovery, it's a different experience than the people who are just really thinking about it now for the first time.
totally. So I'm going to Mia's tomorrow. Hopefully it won't be my last time, but
yeah. Yeah, I won't have the car tomorrow, so I don't think I'll be able to make it. Hopefully we'll go sometime next week.
No, tell me if you're going. I've been a lot. That's one of the only places I have been. I've only been once inside.
Yeah, if it's warm
And
tomorrow, you can sit outside.
yeah, yeah. I want to go early too, so before everyone, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you can have some of your 7 fishes there.
Well, I'm gonna be gluttonous. I'm gonna have my lunch, and then I'm gonna go there. It's gonna be separate.
Oh.
Is Mia's the
I
sushi
love
place?
fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that once with my family. For a Feast of the Seven Fishes, we went to a sushi place and just had seven different types of fish for sushi.
Yeah, that's one way to do
Yeah.
it. Why not?
So if people don't know about Mia's, like Mia's has been a family-run sushi restaurant. It was the first sushi restaurant in New Haven, and I went to school with the owner Bun Lai, and his mom opened it over like 40 years ago. And it used to be on Chapel Street right next to Rudy's. And then they bought a building right around the corner. Um, and it's right on Howe, right there. And they will be closing down regular operation. They said January 31st. He's a sustainable sushi chef. And so he, if you have shrimp there, it's only gonna be shrimp from like Louisiana or Maine or Alaska. It's gonna be wild shrimp. He only deals with species that are sustainable. So it's not like a regular, you're gonna get crab, it's gonna be crab from Alaska. Um, and he, it's not a traditional sushi restaurant. He has interesting flavors and he's my friend, so I'm not going to miss it, as he said to me. But um, I'm still going to the restaurant to get as much of it in the restaurant as possible.
Yeah, it's a really special place, and you know, he's got. I mean, some of this stuff comes from his own farm, right? But
Yeah, so he's a farm in Bethany. It's a wild farm, and he does with foraging. He deals with a lot of wild species. He's all about teaching people how to eat better and sustainably. So we're here on the earth longer. And so he does that through food. So we went to high school together, and I always enjoy going there. The hospitality is off the charts. He's also a very generous person to different organizations and people in New Haven. All right, so my stock is going, and I feel like I need to chop up a bunch of onions and peppers, and then I can start doing a bunch of cooking.
oh, are you going to be able to chop onions on camera, or do they make you cry too much?
No, they don't make me cry. I'm 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 too hardened from life, you know. Look at your dog.
Yeah, yeah. She decided she needs to be on my lap right now.
What kind of dog?
She's a Chihuahua French Bulldog mix. She's a rescue, so I think she probably also might have some Italian Greyhound in her.
Okay.
But yeah, she's a Chihuahua French Bulldog. She's very much a lap dog. And we adopted her in February, so you know it was good timing.
All that stuff smoothly.
Yeah, a lot of people have been adopting pets during the pandemic because they have time to get to know a new member of the family and could use some companionship.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we had a dog who died last year in February, who I'd had since, you know, for 15 years. So it wasn't, you know, like we knew we were going to get another dog. We got her before everything happened. But some of these dogs, I feel for them that they're going to get so used to having their families around all the time.
Yeah.
And then everyone's just going to kind of go back to work and leave the pups at home.
Hello there.
But this one's very happy in her crate, and you know,
I don't know if we're going back to work anytime soon. So
no, I mean, right now it might be saying June 1st, but obviously it all depends how long it takes to disseminate the vaccine
they said June of next year.
of this year. They're going to have us go back
Yeah.
to the office, but you know, they've been pretty flexible so far. And if people still aren't vaccinated in June, then we won't go back. And I think probably we'll go to flexible scheduling when we do go back, now that we have this kind of year-long trial period to show that a lot of us can work from home just fine, and it doesn't really affect our ability to do our jobs.
Yeah, there's one positive. Gives more. Now that we've learned that working from home is viable, hopefully more people will get the flexibility to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been, I mean, I like going into an office. Like I never really minded it, but certainly also now that I'm back in school, it's nice not having the commute and having that hour and a half back
Yeah,
in
the
my
commute.
day. Yeah.
I've never had a long commute, and I can't imagine for so many people they're saving like an hour to 3 hours a day. That's a lot
Yeah.
in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really going to feel that, I think, when I have to go back. I mean, like my commute's nice. I take all back roads. My office is in Westchester. I take all back roads from Norwalk. And it doesn't save me any time, but it's at least pretty, and I'm moving the whole time. And, it's a nice kind of buffer period between working and not working, because that's been tough working from home, is, knowing when to stop. But yeah, see how it goes.
What have been your favorite cookbooks this year?
Yeah, definitely Flavor Equation, Cool Beans. What else? In BB's Kitchen, I love Sands, Eden, love. It's somewhat
What was the last
related.
one? I didn't hear you.
Red Sands by Caroline Eden.
Oh, I didn't hear about that one.
So it's all about like Central Asia, like Kazakhstan,
okay.
that part of the world, and she spent a lot of time there. Yeah, I'm hoping to interview her for something I'm working on. So about kind of that region. It's been a good year for cookbooks. There's Marcus Samuelson's new one with the now infamous Soup Jamu, but I'm a big fan of Osai, who worked on that. So, Osai Endelin is a great writer. What else? There have been a lot.
That was an interesting fiasco.
Yeah.
People are up in arms, and then people came into my inbox, and then they, like people want to have these public disparaging times, and I'm like, that's about Bon Appetit. I'm not going to say something about to Marcus Samuelson. Like, I mean, that's more about Bon Appetit to me.
About their framing. For anyone who's listening and doesn't know about this, it's Bon Appetit published a recipe from Marcus Samuelson's cookbook, The Rise, for Soup Jamu, which is, it was Marcus Samuelson's interpretation, but Soup Jamu is a Haitian dish to celebrate Haiti's independence. It's, on New Year's Day. It's like a very hearty stew with meat and chunks of pumpkin, and he did
the calabaza I'm talking about.
Yeah. And he did, his version, which was a vegan and pureed soup, very pretty with, candied nuts on top, I think. So it's a very different thing. And, in the book, he kind of says he was inspired by that soup to create this soup. But Bon Appetit magazine published it online, kind of without that context, and just said it was his interpretation of this soup that's very meaningful to a lot of people. And also it tagged some people who had kind of worked on the book very early on, but had nothing to do with the soup, added their names as bylines. So there was a lot of controversy around that. And they ended up changing the name of the soup, and and writing an editor's note, and taking the names off of the people who didn't create the soup. So yeah,
Someone didn't cite their sources correctly.
Yeah, basically.
Well, said like they didn't do research, and I'm like, I'm surprised that they wouldn't do research, because I mean, I did cry. I'm crying a little bit. That I mean, I lived in Boston for 23 years, and that's like Haitian Central, you know, next to Miami, you know, and so I guess maybe I said that I can take for granted understanding that history, but I feel like Haitian people are very proud people, and they'll tell you about their independence, and they'll tell you about their griot and their soup and their pickled peas. Like, I don't know, like I feel like when you put, if you just soup jamu, like it always came with the story of independence. It's like
Mhm.
I did not know the story of independence. So that I thought that was kind of interesting because a few times that I write articles, I do a lot of research beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing though, right? Is this wasn't an article. They just grabbed the recipe from his
Yeah.
cookbook. And you know, my take on it is that it just kind of didn't undergo the same editorial rigors that like an original article would have. But it's damaging when stuff like that happens. Like you know, it's hurtful to the people, to Haitian people, to see
Yeah.
their soup
Yeah.
represented this way, and it's
Right.
um
Beautiful story. That's the thing. It's a beautiful
yeah.
story. The story of the soup. Um,
And it's a really
I,
delicious soup.
yeah,
Like I
yeah,
hope
it
they're now
really is.
working on commissioning a recipe for, you know, for the well,
Oh,
I guess commission
for
develop
January
all those.
31st.
Yeah.
Many New Year's traditions from around the world is pie. You know,
Yeah.
Italian people have lentils. You know, African Americans have black eyed peas and maybe some collard greens. You know, like whatever people need to eat, we need to all just be making it and channeling that energy into 2021.
Yeah, right. We need it. Yeah, I do black eyed peas and collard greens on it, which is a tradition Jay grew up with and I did not. Um, but even, you know, even the tradition of it, you know, it's supposed to, the collard for people who are watching who don't know, the collard greens represent money and the black eyed peas represent luck, or I've heard the collard greens represent dollars and the black eyed peas represent coins. Either way, it's supposed to bring you luck and wealth in the new year. It's also just nice to kind of like eat this very like hearty, you know, healthy meal on New Year's Day. Like speaking for myself, I'm frequently a little bit hungover on New Year's Day and just kind of like lounging around in my pajamas. And like, it's nice to have a pot of beans and a pot of greens going on the stove and, you know, and sit down and eat like this big hearty hot meal and like drench it in hot sauce. And it's just, yeah, it's a good way to start the year. I guess the onions are going in now.
Tomatoes.
So what are
Bass.
your other fishes?
Oh, I have bass. I have snapper. I have flounder. I have lobster, shrimp, salmon, sardines. I
Yeah.
wanted scallops. I forgot scallops. I'll get scallops tomorrow. And then I want salted cod, but I didn't soak it. So I left it at home soaking. That's like
Oh yeah.
usually traditional, the salted cod.
Yeah.
So um right now I'm gonna make because Soleil said she's hungry, an African style like Creole sauce. Just like onions, peppers, tomatoes, and put their spicy pepper sauce that they make with fish in there
Mm-hmm.
because it's kind of like a Jamaican brown stew fish, kind of like that. And it's easy. It's something that she can eat right now. After she eats, I finish that for her. Then I'm gonna make some of the other smaller things like the got a recommendation. After that, I'm gonna make like sardine, pate, stuff like that. Some smaller things.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never done Feast of the Seven Fishes actually. Maybe next year. Usually New Year's Eve is kind of our time for just the two of us, and then Christmas Day is with family, and yeah. But I certainly love fish.
I like it because it's just a celebration of fish, and then my family is from the water. So my grandfather was a fisherman and a farmer, so I just like seafood.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, seafood says special occasion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beef and pork do too.
Hmm?
I said beef and pork do also.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so tired of chicken. My mom loves a lot of chicken.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, right. Like again, we haven't been eating a whole lot of chicken, but I don't know. I usually get like wings or thighs, like something with the skin on. So it's, a little bit more exciting. I can't really do chicken breast. And seafood I get from the Daily Catch. I think they go to the farmers markets in New Haven, but they're based in Rhode Island. And it's a community supported fishery. And I love everything that they do. I love their smoked fish too. We get that a lot.
Yeah, I love their fish too. And their lobster, and they shuck the oysters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their crab meat is so good. Like all of it. It's that feels like a special occasion. Like I'll get their halibut or something that's like.
Yeah, exactly. I just going over to the store. Are you knitting?
Oh, you know what? I put it aside when the dog was on my lap. Start again. Now she's sitting behind me in the chair.
Did you teach yourself to knit?
No, I actually, in high school, I worked at a yarn shop and I did not know anything about yarn or knitting when I started. They just needed someone to kind of help with inventory and stocking the shelves. But I learned when I was working there, and when you have to kind of help other people and teach other people as you're learning, you learn really quickly. And sort of like cooking, like I had to kind of, while I was learning, get really comfortable telling other people how to do it as well. So like, I pretty early on started kind of making up my own patterns and things like that. So it's nice, I think for a creative who's not a visual artist, right? Like it's nice to produce something that you can see and hold. I work in print magazines, so I can see the magazine when it's all done. But with writing, you often don't get that same sort of like, here, look at this thing that I made, because, it lives on the internet. So it's nice to have something tactile.
I just wanted to show people that this is tomato stew. It's from the Motherland Market on Dixwell Avenue here in New Haven. And it's a base for making jollof rice. I usually make my own base, but I have to workshop some recipes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to do 3 different versions of fonio jollof rice.
Oh.
And like using like fresh tomatoes, using like canned roasted tomatoes, and then using this base. And so, yeah. So it's like our tomato, onion, and pepper, and they cook them in oil and then put them in a food processor or blender. So that's what this is actually. So I'm gonna put a couple of tablespoons to the Creole sauce to like add flavor. And it probably has some hot pepper in there too. I haven't tasted it, so I'm gonna do that off camera. Do you feel like when you were working for Hemispheres, were you just doing travel or were you doing also food?
I was doing also food. When I worked at Hemispheres, like it was a very interesting time to be in publishing. I worked for a contract publisher that won the contract for Hemispheres in late 2008. So we launched in early 2009. So, you know, it was kind of like at the height of the recession, which meant that I was working with editors and writers who like wrote for publications like the New Yorker and the Times and, you know, and also like W and Details and Esquire and all of those. So, so in tone, it was very much kind of like a sort of publication, and it still is to some extent. So it was travel, but it was very destination based, and there was a lot of food and a lot of drinks, and also I don't know how many people read airline magazines. I don't know how many people really know this, but airlines make a lot of money off of their kind of business travelers, like their frequent flyers, the people who have memberships in the lounges, the people who pay for upgrades. Like they make, that's essentially how they make money. They don't really make money off of an economy ticket. So every airline magazine has a fairly strong business section. It's got a fair amount of stories that are aimed at business travelers. So, you know, if you are looking to get into publishing, into an editorial role specifically, airline magazines are great because you really do a little bit of everything. Like I also edited the in-flight entertainment guide. So I would like, you know, I mean, I interviewed celebrities for Hemispheres about where they like to travel. Did a lot of food stuff, which was my entry into food.
Which celebrities did you interview?
Oh my goodness, a lot. Let's see. I interviewed Mary J. Blige, Sir Ben Kingsley, Elizabeth Moss, Sandra Lee, a couple people from the cast of Curb Your Enthusiasm, like Emerald. Who else? It's a long list, and I would just do these short phone interviews about their favorite place to travel.
Okay. What would you say about working with celebrities? And then I'll say what I'll say about working with celebrities.
You know, I mean, most of the great majority of my experience working with celebrities is these very scheduled, like I send my questions in advance. You know, and I do them still for Wine Enthusiast. I'm interviewing them about their wine labels or their wine projects that they're launching. And for Hemispheres, I talked to them about where they like to travel, but it was pegged to, like, they were only interviewing me because they had a project coming out. I dealt with them directly. I dealt with their names. I'd send them my questions. I'd get on the phone with them for like 5-10 minutes. I would say like 90% of the celebrities I've worked with have been lovely. It much more comes down to the reps who are doing the scheduling than the celebrities themselves. You know, and some of them are just kind of doing, like, a few months ago, I talked to a basketball player about his wine label, and I think I had like 8 minutes to interview him, and we covered a lot in 8 minutes, and he was very funny and friendly, but like this is just what he was doing all day. Like his first vintage was coming out of his wine label. He was on the phone with journalists all day. So, when you're in a situation like that, like you have to kind of be human so that they connect with you and kind of speak off the cuff a little bit. But I can't think of a bad experience I've had with a celebrity, but it has just been so kind of limited and curated. What have your experiences been like?
Like the people that think that would be like so difficult, and like I feel like a lot of people who are very accomplished, they're very nice and they're very self-assured, and you would never they don't even what you perceive as a celebrity to be like, they're not like. And then a lot of people who are like more like the D-list people,
Yeah.
like they show their ass and just act like they have no class.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I can see it. Well, right. I mean, I think it's right. Like the people who are less famous want to make you think that they're a lot more famous, and they don't have time for you and do it for you. Yeah, I mean, I will say, working with a lot of different writers, the really big name writers that I've worked with have been really easy to work with and really good about editing, and the ones who are slightly less experienced will kind of push back a lot more about, and there are exceptions on both sides, of course, but we'll push back a lot more about edits and just kind of like I'll push back a lot more about different parts of the process. And it's the same thing. It's like, experienced writers are used to being edited. Like they know that that's going to happen. They know that their writing's going to be changed by someone like me. So I
love editors. My writing is so much better when I have an editor,
Yeah, I mean that's always the goal, right? Like, I never want someone to read something I've edited and feel like this doesn't sound like me. But sometimes it happens. Sometimes it is something I've done, and sometimes it's a function of them kind of not understanding the publication as well as any of us thought that they did.
I'm trying to get something from someone. So I'm really excited to use this is Kifco. Have you ever tried this?
I don't think so.
It's African, like their pepper sauce, and they make it with dried meat.
Oh, okay.
Dried fish.
Okay.
So it has like kind of like that umami kind of like onion, pepper, then a little fish, but you wouldn't, unless you use a lot of it, you wouldn't know that it was like really. Be right back.
Oh, it looks really good.
Yeah, it's really good. It goes a little bit, goes a long way. That's the sauce. Kind of like a typical. I feel very proud of myself that it looks very motherlandish. And I just put a little bit of Cajun seasoning on the red snapper. Cover on there. For a couple of minutes, and then it will be done.
Oh, I wish I could smell it. I feel like I can smell it.
Well, it smells really good. I'm looking forward to eating it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let's see what's our time like. See what I'm gonna make. You have an hour left. Yep.
45 minutes. Yeah.
Are we starting? Are we gonna get provocative?
We could. What do you got? What do you wanna hear? What do you wanna know?
I don't know. I try to get provocative when I be in person, and it doesn't translate.
You're breaking up a little bit. I think it's the mask.
Oh. I said I try and get provocative, but like how I would be in person, it doesn't translate here. I feel like I'm so prim and proper, you know?
Yeah.
Just
I know everything's so different on Zoom. You wouldn't think it would be, but it certainly feels that way.
That looks really good.
It looks really good.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be so popular when she moves out and she's on her own. She's going to be like the only one of her friends that really knows how to cook.
I know, that's why I told her. I said, like, Soleil, when you know how to cook, you have power, okay? When you go to college, I was in college because I knew how to cook for a lot of people because of my huge family. And then I want to make money from cooking. And I was like, I can make money from cooking? So the last thing I catered was Layla's wedding.
And it was delicious. All night, everyone kept saying it was the best wedding food that they'd ever had.
Oh, that brisket was amazing. I haven't made it again, but I'm looking forward to making it again because you can't really make brisket for 3 people, you know?
No, I know. I just bought a slab of brisket and cut it up into like 5 or 6 pieces. Like I have like little fish fillets of brisket now that I'll, cook one at a time for the 2 of us.
How do you like to make brisket?
I would say like once every year or 2, I like to do a Jewish brisket. So it's, you saute the onions and the celery and the carrots, and then and I add some wine, but then it's just like ketchup and like French onion soup mix is traditional. I usually I don't go quite all the way, but and you basically steam it. Like you wrap it really tightly in foil with all the aromatics and the ketchup and the wine and whatever, salt and pepper, of course. And just kind of like cook it. It almost turns like a little bit gelatinous, like it almost cures a little bit. So I'll do that with some of it. And then otherwise it's just low and slow. We've got like a spice rub that we use that has some coffee and a lot of black pepper and, big crunchy salt. And I'll let it sit. I'll do it like a chicken where I'll let it sit and dry out in the fridge with the spice rub on it. And then just do it at 225 for 5 hours in the oven. So it doesn't smoke in terms of flavor, but in terms of cooking technique, it still gets that it's soft, but it's got some resistance to it, and the fat gets really caramelized. So that's what I'll do probably with most of it. Any leftovers I'll make a hash with. Keep it simple. Let the meat do its thing.
I know. So can you give me the sardines and the cheese? And yes, thank you. So I'm gonna make a sardine pate. Do you like sardines?
I love sardines, yeah.
I love sardines. I got some white anchovies too. What do you do with white anchovies?
I cook with anchovies a lot. Like if I'm doing a braise or like a tomato sauce or a stew, anything like that, I'll throw in an anchovy or 2.
The white ones too?
Yeah, the white ones. Yeah.
I love them. I love anchovies.
I like them on pizza too.
On pizza. Like people are like, oh, on pizza, you're like, anchovies on pizza are like amazing.
Yeah.
Do you like anchovies, Rose?
I'm not sure I've ever had them actually.
Oh, really?
They're very fishy. If you don't like fishy things, then you probably gotta like work your way up to it. But if you like fishy things, they're like salty and fishy and delicious.
Okay.
Rose, did I ask you this? Like, what is your favorite pizza?
Oh, I don't think you have. I really like I like a lot, like I like vegetables. I like broccoli and then maybe like olives, cherry peppers. Yeah, I would say broccoli. I like eggplant. If Jay and I are ordering a pizza together, like kind of our go-to is eggplant and meatballs. I mean, I love the clam pie at Modern, obviously.
Gotta love a good clam pizza.
Yeah. Yeah. And then our friends who live down the street from us here, their go-to is just cherry peppers and garlic, and that's like fresh garlic, and that's always delicious as well. But like, yeah, I like some vegetables. I like something spicy. I'm pretty easy that way. I'm not, I'm just
And
happy.
so Modern is your favorite New Haven pizza?
Modern's my favorite New Haven pizza. Yeah.
That's mine too. There's a question out there that people can win on a prize. Like, Modern is my favorite New Haven pizza. What's your favorite new school pizza that's not like Modern or Pepe's or
Sally's?
Sally?
Probably Delenia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to decide. I'm like, do I like Delania better or Bar? And I'm just gonna say I don't. It's not that I like them better. Okay, I don't like them better, but I like that Bar has on Tuesdays they do different pizza like Vicasius. So or the former
That's
owners of
true.
Alma.
And that
And
didn't
I
start
like
till
how
after I left New Haven, so I've never gotten to have it. Yeah, I mean, like
you've never
I like
done that.
Bar a lot. I like
Yeah.
they have one with like broccoli rabe on it that I don't like bacon, so the mashed potato pizza is like does nothing
Oh,
for
you
me.
don't like bacon?
No, the only foods I don't like are zucchini and bacon. That's it.
My God. And zucchini too?
Zucchini is a texture
Like,
thing. Like zucchini bread, I'm fine with, but
yeah.
yeah.
Bill?
I've gotten to where like with both of them, I can eat stuff that have them in it. Like I won't take it out, but I would never. Oh, that looks good. Is that your pate?
Yeah, so this is the sardines. It says dill on there. That's fennel. Um, and there's a little scallion, and on the bottom is the cream cheese. And I'm putting a little bit of dill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they said the fish is good.
Oh, good. Yeah, I bet. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised either. With seafood, I'm not going to make things. I mean, in general, I try to make things I can make. I don't like to waste food. So
Yeah.
even when I'm experimenting, I try and make things that I know that I can still make. That's why I guess I'm reluctant about the bread and stuff like that. Because I'm like, if you mess that up, then that's all. It's not expensive per se, but a waste.
Yeah, it's just not as fun for me with baking, like that you have to follow every step of the recipe. Like, I feel like I just go in the kitchen and I'm just like a whirling dervish. I just like throw stuff together and chop stuff and put it in the oven and it comes out and it tastes good.
I know. So do you want to tell people about Norwalk and the burgeoning food scene there?
Yeah, the burgeoning food scene here. I don't know that the food scene here is quite so burgeoning. I mean, you know, I moved here in early 2017. And there's certainly like a lot to explore in terms of the food scene. And there's a lot of great Peruvian food and Venezuelan food and Salvadoran food. And, you know, downtown
Valencia?
Sono.
Is it Valencia? Is that?
Valencia's here, which we love.
I love them.
They've got this green sauce guasacaca that I would put on anything. It is, you know, it's herbs and chili. It's not spicy. It's just got like a little bit, and vinegar and avocado, so it's really creamy and smooth, and it's good on literally everything. Yeah, you know, downtown Sono, a lot has closed obviously this year.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when we first moved here, what I would say about it is that it had a lot of restaurants and all of them had like a really good like $18 hamburger. Like that's, you know, it's kind of like that gastropub sort of scene. I'll be curious to see what happens when things reopen. But you know, we've got like a Metro Ramen, which is great. We've got a Szechuan restaurant, which is really cute. You got like a dump house, not downtown, but in Norwalk, which is great. What else? There's in kind of the surrounding, and you know, in Westport and New Canaan, there's like a lot of very good, you know, farm to table New American style places. I love everything in Bill Taby's empire in Westport, the Welk and Colony, and I haven't been to. Yeah, I haven't been to his Mexican restaurant, but I'm sure it's delicious. You know, he makes very good food. Yeah. We do not have New Haven pizza, which is a bummer. Locale pizza in New Canaan is good. It's different and it's, you know, it's fancy and it's pricier, but they do a great pie with kale pesto and then like crispy fried kale on top of it. That's delicious. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's some good trucks here. I would say one of the best things about being here is that we have much easier access to the city and also the Hudson Valley. So like there's, you know, you can drive an hour in several different directions and have a really great meal, or even 45 minutes in several different directions and have a really great meal. You know, I mean, the downtown, like again, the downtown kind of Sono area has pretty high turnover, and it's pretty, a lot of the places are catering to crowds that are more interested in drinking than eating. So we have great bars. Yeah, it's always fun to kind of explore a new city and see, you know, see what your options are. And certainly we can, you know, we've got a Korean restaurant in Norwalk. We've got a Vietnamese restaurant in Norwalk that has very good pho. We've got a great Thai restaurant in Darien. We've got, you know, bakeries and coffee shops around. So like all of our bases are covered, except again for New Haven pizza. Although we live right up the street from the Sono Collection shopping mall, which is supposed to have a Sally's opening in it, which obviously has been delayed, but we are eagerly awaiting that. And then the big pizza place in this area is Colony Pizza, which is fine. It's a thin crust, but it's not as good as New Haven thin crust.
Yeah. Do you go to Sono Bakery?
Yeah, I love Sono Bakery.
Yeah, I like
John. It seems like
He's
they're
really
good
nice.
people there, and they have beautiful pastry, and you know, and we can walk there, which is nice.
Yeah, he likes Soleil, so he always gives Soleil stuff. You know.
Yeah, well, Soleil's very popular.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, oh, she said thank you. Oh, I'm supposed to say thank you. Oh, yes. So thank you. Thank you. everyone for making my daughter so popular. And liking my daughter more than you like me, probably, but that's okay. That's okay. That's fine. I'm very sure of myself. So do you think of yourself as a creative?
Yeah, I do. I guess I don't necessarily think that creating is the main thing I'm good at. But I for sure think of myself as a creator, certainly in my cooking, certainly in my knitting. Being a creator as a writer is something that's still fairly new to me. And I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Again, for the last, 10, 15 years, the writing that I've done has been for other people. So, on the one hand, even in my more creative writing, I'm still thinking about how best to convey my ideas to other people. Like that's fundamentally part of writing. Like you're doing it so that other people will know your stories and understand what you're saying. But I feel like a lot of the writing I've done professionally, I've worked hard at it and I felt good about it, but it feels less like a reflection of me personally than a reflection of the outlet I'm writing for. And it's, in terms of hours spent and in terms of how I divvy up my time, it's a relatively small proportion. But I also think there's creativity in everything. Like, I just, I think like, even when it is something like I'm putting together a lineup for an issue of the magazine, I'm still thinking of like how we're gonna make these stories look different, right? Like which stories are we gonna photograph and which ones are we gonna use landscape photography and which ones are we gonna use portraiture and which ones are we gonna use bottles? So like that's also a creative exercise. I guess I'm very practical, right? So like in a professional setting, if my creativity is kind of a roadblock, if it's like, I really love this and I really want it to be this way, but it just doesn't, for whatever reason, fit into what we're doing right now, I am very comfortable saying like, that's fine. We don't have to do things the way that I want to or the way that I envisioned them. Which is a good professional skill to have. But it does, it does kind of, I feel like my creativity is secondary to whatever product I'm working on, essentially, if that makes sense.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. You got some noise in the background. Someone's using one of the machines. The some kind of machine. That fish that I made was amazing. So
I bet.
going into the eating room. I feel like the lady from Motherland, I think I want to bring a piece for her. Every time I go in there, she can't believe that she knows that I'm not, from, obviously I'm not from, I, obviously I am from the continent, but I'm not from the continent. So she knows that I'm not directly from the continent in the sense of like, I stopped off somewhere via Jamaica. So when I go in there and we have the same conversation, it's hilarious. And she feels that because I have a facility in understanding the ingredients and I go in there and I go in there like every 2 months and I get a bunch of stuff. So all the ethnic markets, so I don't really have to go back,
Yeah.
for 3 months. And she's just like, who have I dated that I know how to cook African food? She's always just like, she's just like, well, where does your husband come from? I'm like, we do this every single time. I don't have a husband. I'm Jamaican. She's like, but why do you know how to cook this food? I'm like, because I had girlfriends that were from the continent of Africa that told me how to cook.
I've never had this happen to me in my life. I went to a Polish market here in Norwalk, and when I went to check out, the woman like kind of like just did like a and then she was like, "Do you speak Polish?" She's like, "I was about to start speaking to you in Polish. Do you speak Polish?" And I said, "No, I don't speak Polish." But I've never had that experience of like going into any sort of ethnic market and anyone thinking I might know the language.
You know, and then her son, it's so funny because, you know, once to get out of COVID, like I said to him that I'm on a mission for a person from Senegal or Western Africa to teach me how to make debuje, you know, like, so the precursor to jollof rice, which is always a controversy. But I want someone from Senegal to teach me, because I know how to make jollof rice. I think I know how to make it well, and I know I've learned from Nigerian people like how to make it, and I have like my own little secrets that they taught me. If you come to one of my cooking classes, then I'll share that with you. But I've always wanted to learn how to make debuje because they make this thing called roff where it's like a seasoning and they put it in the fish. And when you make it traditionally, it's like a lot of different steps. And yeah, you can look on YouTube, but when you taste the stuff that a really good person makes, they're not showing you what they put on YouTube.
Right.
They're not putting that on there. I want to know the secrets. I love when I can learn something as good as someone from the culture, if not better.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna talk nonsense right now. So I made the pate. I don't know where Soleil put it. She moved it somewhere. and I'm gonna strain. I'm gonna go over to the sink and strain the soup and the broth, and then reconstitute it with some more onions and peppers and scallions and garlic and some fish. I didn't put fish in there because I didn't have like a fish head or like a fish tail that you want like the fish off of the bones to come off into the soup, because the more bony something is, the better the soup, the better the broth, the more fortified it is. So I only have fillet of fish, so I didn't put that in there. I just made my broth with shrimp,
the shells and the tails and everything.
Shells, shells, and that's a very potent broth.
Yeah.
So, all right. So if I turn my back to you and stuff like that, then that's it. So where's your favorite place that you've gone to outside of the United States in regard to food? And then where's your favorite place that you've been to in the United States in regard to food? And then I'll answer that question too. All right.
I would say, like, strictly speaking, food. Well, Portugal. I was in Vinho Verde for a press trip, and I was there during cherry season, and there were big, beautiful cherries everywhere I went, and lots of very fresh fish. But probably the best food city I've ever been to is Seoul, South Korea. You know, I was there for a short time. I ate a lot. I did not have a single bad meal. And it's just like, it really runs the gamut of like street food and, you know, kind of like traditional, almost like diner style places. And then kind of high end, you know, I had blowfish there. Like I did it all. So that was probably my best international food trip. Parma was also fantastic. And London is great, again, just because you can kind of get everything. Domestically, there it is. All those shells. It's a little bit sentimental. It's, you know, it's where we went on our mini moon and also our first trip together, Jay and I. But I would say Portland, Maine. That's a nice looking stock. And it was quick too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Portland, Maine. Again, there's so much fresh seafood. But we also had great Vietnamese food. There's like a big Eritrean and Ethiopian community. So there's those cuisines.
In Portland, Maine?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've always wanted to go and Yeah, I've always wanted to go because there is that kind of artisanal stuff, and there's a lot of people from New York and other places that have moved up there because of nicer quality of life, just like in, Vermont.
Yeah, I mean, I would move there in a second if it weren't so cold. Honestly, like, yeah, there's good like higher end places. It's if you're a beer drinker, it is for you. There's so many breweries. Um, yeah, I just, and it's you can kind of like walk around and like go to this bar and have a snack before dinner and then go have a light dinner and then keep kind of eating and drinking like you do in Spain basically throughout the night. So it's a good time. What are yours? Oh, did I freeze?
You did not freeze, but Nadine may have frozen.
Okay. I never know if it's me or if it's someone else.
Challenges of virtual programs.
Can you? Oh my God.
I can hear you. But your camera's off. We can hear you again.
No, it looks like just her overhead cam.
Yeah.
All right, there she is. Technical difficulties, reconnecting.
Yeah.
There you are.
There you are, yeah.
All right. And then when my daughter comes back, she can put over the overhead. So, the overhead, we just went out for a second.
That's
Next
fine.
time, Rose, have I had a lot of technical issues down here?
No, you've been pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, because next time I will put on the hotspot. I thought that we were always been pretty okay down here. So
yeah,
it
was just that one blip.
All right. So I think I was asking you. What was I asking you?
Well, I did my favorite.
Oh.
International food city and then domestic, and it was your turn to share yours.
Okay. International. Well, I'm Jamaican, so I'm not going to say Jamaica because I am Jamaican. So that's saying something in of itself because I don't want to get my Jamaican card taken away.
Oh, now you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted now.
Oh, sorry. I don't want to be. I don't want to be cliche, but I studied in Paris for 6 weeks, and it was like everything that I thought it was gonna be. It was like amazing. Like I studied at the Ritz-Escoffier, and I lived in 3 different neighborhoods, and I lived in the Marais, which is one of them. It's such a great food neighborhood. So, Paris was exactly everything that you think that it's going to be. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it tremendously in regard to food. I've been, like I grew up in Toronto, and
which is
I've traveled, I guess domestically, I would say like maybe Miami or New Orleans.
New Orleans is a really
probably like New Orleans.
Yeah.
New Orleans, but also like San Francisco and Chicago. Love Chicago.
Chicago is fantastic. Yeah, Chicago, again, if it weren't so cold, I would have moved there by now. I love it there. Certainly a great food city. It really kind of has everything.
Am I coming in or is she coming in, Rose?
Yeah, I can hear you both.
Yeah, your picture is frozen, but your sound's okay.
I feel like we should put it like what you call it. We only have 15 minutes, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
The overhead cam is working.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. Here's your little cutie.
She really likes to sit behind one of us on the, in a chair on the couch because it's nice and warm.
Mm-hmm.
She's very spoiled.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, now you're on both. Oh, and it's echoing. Okay, now you're on both.
Oh, America, it's really hard because there's a lot of places that are really great. Los Angeles, San Francisco. I mean, I love Chicago. Like I said, I love Philadelphia. I love Washington. And then
I
when
don't
you
think of Washington so much as a food city, but yeah, LA, Chicago are definitely contenders for me. Where else? New Orleans, of course.
you know where I was upset that I didn't realize that would be a cool place and I didn't spend enough time was like Memphis. Because I didn't really like Nashville. So I was doing like a team building event. And so usually when I would do team building events, like if I go to Chicago or like Los Angeles, I would extend my trip like for a couple of days so I could see my friends or like enjoy the city. And so because I thought like Nashville, I didn't really like it because it's like very around. And so like I hate driving. So everything was outside the city. And it was at a time where you didn't have Uber and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna drink and drive. So it's like I'm not gonna like, okay, I'm gonna get my rent a car and drive around Nashville to enjoy it. But Memphis was so cool. And I was so mad that I was like, I came in, did my team building event. I stayed at the famous hotel where they have the ducks that come out every day and had the men's clothing shop in the downstairs where Elvis used to go and Beale Street and all that was just amazing. Not to mention the barbecue.
Yeah, I know I've never been to Memphis, but it's definitely on my list in part for the barbecue. A friend of ours just moved to Kansas City over the summer, so like we've got a whole barbecue tour that we've got to do. I do like Austin as a food city as well.
I've never been.
Honestly, my like main food memory from Austin, the barbecue was the brisket was great. But we went to some like divey little bar that had green chili cheese fries, and they were so good. Like I love green chili, and like
Me too.
Yeah.
My friend that used to have a house in Austin always would get like a bunch of green chili and the green chili salsa. It's amazing to make pork, on tacos.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And yeah, like I'd like to also spend some more time in the Southwest. Like I've been to Arizona, but like, yeah, like exploring green chili country, like New Mexico and Southern Colorado and all of that.
I've been to New Mexico. It was beautiful. It was like everything that you would imagine and very mystical and spiritual. I was at a conference in Albuquerque, but then that weekend I extended my trip and we went to Santa Fe to wonderful farmers market. I bought so many beads that lasted so many years there. And then we went to Taos, but then on the way, like there's these mystical places. And so we stopped and it was during the Day of the Dead. So we went to a reservation for the Day of the Dead. It was like really beautiful. It's really lovely out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd love to go. And yeah, like do kind of like a road trip thing. It seems like a good place for it. One day.
Yeah, so let's get an RV.
Okay, sure. Let's do it.
An RV. We can cook along the way, go to different farmers markets. That's what I love. That's what I loved when I was in Paris, where I lived in apartments and I go out every day and get my bread, get my food, and then cook. It was great.
I love just like going to grocery stores in other countries, like not like farmers markets, of course, but just like regular grocery stores too. Like everything, everything's just so different everywhere. You don't, even in Canada, the grocery stores are different. Like you don't really think about it. You just kind of take it for granted that a grocery store is a grocery store. Did we lose you again? There you are.
Yep.
Oh,
No,
you're muted.
you're muted. You're still muted.
Well, next time, Rose, don't worry. I will put on the hotspot.
Okay. Well, it did pretty well until this end here.
I bring it, but we never needed it before. So, but next time I will put it on. But being from Toronto, you're from Toronto too, though, right, Layla?
No, I'm not. My mom's from Montreal, but
Okay.
and I have family who lives in Toronto, but I grew up in Cambridge.
Right. So, Katrina, our friend Katrina and I are Canadian citizens.
Yeah.
And growing up in Toronto is like obviously like a foodie city. And you know, when people are talking about Chinatown and everything, like I grew up in the largest Chinatown in North America.
Now we're getting some feedback.
Oh. Is that better now?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, no, Toronto has everything. Like my uncle who lives in Toronto lives in a big Russian community, and like you can get everything Russian around him. Like it's just all of these little pockets, and like it's one of the most international cities in the world.
Yeah, I love that. I love I want to make a sneak trip to New York, but then now with the mutating virus, I'm like, no, I'm not, I don't think I'm going. But I really want to go to the Russian section down by Coney Island and see all the houses. They have lights and everything over there. I might just go down there and drive and look at it, quite frankly, because I'm feeling like
there's
I need
no harm
light.
in just like driving through if you don't stop.
Yeah, you know. So, all right, we're at 8:21. Mm-hmm. So, what would you tell creatives? Like, what have you learned during this arduous year? I don't know if people are using the word arduous to describe it. You know, I know that people are using pivots. They're using, you know, unprecedented.
I like arduous, maybe a little bit tedious. Yeah.
Tenuous?
Tenuous, sure, yeah.
Recalcitrant? I love using that word.
I mean, you know, it's nothing that hasn't been said before, but just go easy on yourself. Like, you know, I personally, I create best when I'm on deadline. Like I need that pressure to finish things, but, and you know, if you are someone who needs that, then like find something that provides that structure for you. But like if you're having trouble creating because you're stressed out all the time and you're not sleeping and you're, you know, consumed by what's going on in the world, like that's fine. Like you know, you can't create your best work under duress most of the time.
Well, that's what I like want to like leave people with, like in a sense of, especially like for women, I think it's important to, can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
To put yourself first and to use the metaphor of being on an airplane and getting oxygen and making sure that all your needs are tended to so you can tend to yourself.
Oh, you're
hear that?
Yeah, you're back now. I mean,
I got my phone and the computer doing different things.
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess I would also say to people who are trying to create is it can be a great distraction to focus in on something really small. Like, I don't know, I taught for the first time this semester and like my students loved when I gave them writing prompts. And it's like, you know, it's an opportunity to be creative in this really small kind of low stakes way. And it's the same with me knitting for 15, 20 minutes every morning, right? It's like, I'm focused on this one thing. It doesn't affect the world. It doesn't even affect my income, right? Like, it's just like, I get to do this one small thing for a few minutes and I can see progress and it's tangible. So, you know, I would say also, like, look for the things that bring you joy and spend a little time there. And, you know, whether it's consuming or creating, like it's all part of the same cycle.
Yeah, exactly. I think that making sure that I've been doing this way every day, and I have been failing at doing my writing pages, my 3 pages every day. But I do probably 10 pages a week, and that is good. And we have to all just try and do what we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like the cat poster, hang in there. That's all I got.
Nope.
Yeah, we lost her again.
Just as well, we're just about done.
There you are, yeah.
You're still muted though.
You're muted, yeah.
Nadine, you muted. Looks like whenever you drop out and come back, you're muted. But I mean, whenever you come out, whenever you cut out and then come back, it seems like when you come back, you're muted. But you're good now.
Am I good now? Okay.
Yes.
So I just said that we need to all take care of ourselves, and because I think that oftentimes, especially as women, we're not taught to take care of ourselves, and if we want to create, then that's what we have to do. And that I understand for creation for myself, creation is life, and so if I'm not creating, I'm not my best, you know. So I hope that we've inspired you to do that today.
Yeah. Or at least to travel when you can. When it's safe again, go travel the world and eat really well.
And also you can travel wherever you are.
Yeah.
You know, like, and even if you're, I mean, even like you're saying about delivery, you know, like you can order from other restaurants that you never ordered from before.
Exactly.
And that can make you feel like you're in a different place, you know, because quite frankly, it seems like we're going to be inside for a little much longer. So we're gonna have to find other ways in which to entertain ourselves and make ourselves feel better. And I mean, for me, like that's why I've been going to different ethnic markets to not only support them because they obviously need support because we're all shuttered in, and ethnic markets on a regular, you wouldn't normally go to them every day anyway, but so like, you know, Flo Maggie's only open on Fridays and Saturdays, but I bought a whole bunch of different seasonings and I'm enjoying them. You know, those Eastern European seasonings are great for the winter. And making different things because like I can't travel anywhere, so I gotta do it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and it's fun, and you don't have to be so rigid about it. You can just get in there and play around.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing. Like I've been, you know, like we're more play around kind of people. We don't need a recipe. We're like, oh, okay, like this is green. Like I think this would be good on this, and it does enliven my life and make me feel better. So, yeah. I want to say thank you for being here. I'm going to embarrass you and say that, Layla, there's very few people that you can say bad things about. And Layla is one of the people that I've never heard her.
Oh, we lost you again. Oh, no, you were saying something.
I hope you heard that.
No, you cut out right in the middle of giving me a compliment.
Oh, I said that, Layla. I said there's very few people that you can say that you can't say like negative things about, but you're one of the very few people that I've never heard anyone say anything bad about you.
and I could never say anything bad about you.
Well, likewise, and I'm sad to know, and I'm so glad and part of it. It was a lot of fun.
We have a very prominent echo right now.
I know.
Okay, I think it's telling us to log off.
So we're gonna say we love each other. Happy holidays.
Happy holiday. Happy New Year.
Whatever you celebrate.
See
you soon. Hopefully before March, and it gets warm outside.
Yeah.
Love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy
Bye.
holidays, Rose.
Bye.
Holidays.
Thank you.